And it's another trading day right here in Lagos, Nigeria. It's great to have you. We're seeing the trading month of February moving along quite fast. But let's get to the top stories that set your agenda now. Starting with oil. We'll see oil prices were little change today after a volatile trading in the previous session as investors are shrugging off the impact of China tariffs on U.S. energy imports, though President Donald Trump's renewed push to eliminate Iranian crude exports, that provided some support for the market there, but it's still down 0.24% in early trade, $76.02. That's what we're seeing for Brent crude. For the U.S. WTI crude version, that's $72.61 cents a barrel, down 0.12%. All eyes on the U.S. WTI crude. Is $70 going to hold going forward? We'll definitely find out. Let's get a check on the FX market now. The NAFEX window, that depreciated by 9 naira 40 kobo to fix at 1,505 naira. Similarly, the NFM VWAP rate weakened by about 8 naira 42. So we're seeing weakness for the trade yesterday, even though February started quite bullish. That's for the FX, that's for Naira, with a bullish January, altogether. But definitely all eyes on these levels. Analysts expect this range will continue throughout into next week. We'll definitely be watching that, barring any significant changes right there in the market. Meanwhile, Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves fell by $1.16 billion in January 2025, reversing the $592.58 million gain recorded in December. Data from the central bank shows reserves dropped from $40.88 billion to $39.72 billion, marking the steepest decline since April 2024. The sharp fall is linked to increased dollar sales to BDC operators as the CBN moves to stabilize the Naira. The move comes amid continued currency volatility and concerns over external liquidity. Despite the drop, the CBN insists its strategy will boost confidence in the FX market by ensuring steady dollar supply on the retail level. And a promise of a new dawn in Nigeria's internet space as the federal government has invited stakeholders to launch the theme, the Broadband Alliance Acceleration and Collective Prosperity through Connectivity. Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, was represented by the Executive Vice Chairman of the Nigeria Communications Commission, delves right into the heart of the matter. Take a listen.
Technology and development.
The promise of a new dawn in Nigeria's internet space as the federal government has invited stakeholders to the launch with the theme, the Broadband Alliance, Accelerating our Collective Prosperity through Connectivity.
I would like to invite. Thank you, Minister.
The Minister of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, is represented by the Executive Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, Dr. Aminu Maida, and delves right into the heart of the matter.
The National Broadband Alliance for Nigeria is not just an initiative. It is a transformative journey that will pave the way for a digitally connected Nigeria. While this progress is commendable, we recognize that there is much to be done to ensure that every Nigerian can enjoy the benefits of reliable, high-speed internet.
The new platform comes with responsibilities and the need to be explicit about regulations, and the burden lies on the states.
It is very clear which state has the power by law to, impose fee. The fees are stated. The process for application are stated clearly. It also addresses the issue of timeline on, when you make your application, how soon can you get your approvals out. The issue of reinstatements of sites, and then if there are issues of fines if you do not comply.
Benefit expectations and possible challenges with NBAN is a conversation at the panel moderated by the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company.
Because of that availability of infrastructure, a lot of small companies moved into the area and started opening up businesses, startups, and today that's what we know as the Yaba Silicon Valley. And so I think an open and competitive market that really takes into the consideration the private sector is what I think a lot of jurisdictions need.
The National Broadband Alliance for Nigeria opens a platform to deepen internet penetration and all the benefits that come with it. However, the success of it would depend largely on the true alliance among stakeholders.
All right, to our stories now. We see the Oyo State government has expressed its determination to develop hospitality and tourism as a huge part of its economic expansion program and would not relent in efforts to make the sector one of the best in the country. The state government's chief of staff, Segun Ogunyi, who joined the management of Odua Investment Group company on an inspection tour of the upgraded Premier Hotel in Ibadan, notes that the project is a major win for government as hundreds of residents are currently employed on site, with many more coming on board when the project is done. Take a listen.
Wherever Papawolo and his team were, now they'll be praying that, oh, what they left, you'll be able to change it, turn it around, and increase. Because if you meet something on ground, you must improve on it. And our own legacy is to make sure that we improve it. I mean, see the caliber of people who are on the board. I mean, members of the board of Udua. They are forward-thinking people on Premier's track record in their prison career. And they said, look, we need to improve on this. And not only Premier, we are looking at Ikeja Airport Hotel, we are looking at Lafia, so that all the things we met on ground, we are improving and increasing whatever they have to keep the legacy. So that even when our own children come through, they may decide that the rooms may be 50 to 500 rooms by extending it, but it's better to keep on moving the train.
All right, we'll take a quick break now. Business Morning continues in a moment. All right, now let's explore the current state of supply chain finance in Nigeria, the challenges it faces, and the transformative role of technology. We'll also delve into how businesses are leveraging technology to optimize their supply chains, the tangible benefits they've experienced, and the emerging trends that are shaping the future of supply chain finance. Well, joining me now for this conversation, we have Oluseyi Sheton, is a co-founder, Chief Growth Officer of Vendor Credit. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So, so much playing out in that industry. How would you describe the current state of supply chain finance in Nigeria? And what would you say are some of the, challenges that supply chain players, what they're facing, right now?
Well, so supply chain finance basically tries to bridge a gap that exists. It's usually buyer-led. And so the situation is such that, the buyer, you leverage off the rating, right, the credit risk rating of the buyer to be able to offer facilities to the seller. In most cases, the buyers are large multinational corporates, while the sellers are predominantly SMEs. So speaking to the challenges that exist there, supply chains are obviously not immune from the macroeconomic conditions that, a lot of us experienced last year. Inflation was, it peaked up to 34.8%, and devaluation officially was about 40%. Energy costs went up off the back of the fact that subsidies were removed, and that affected both sides of the supply chain finance partnership. Access to credit still remains a big problem. I know private credit went up to about 76 trillion as of November last year. But if you do what our private credit is versus to GDP, and you compare us to other countries, even within SSA, you realize we're still far behind. I think we did about 12.96, and a country like South Africa is doing as high as 91%. And that affected the corporate sides. And on the smaller side, that's the SMEs, they still didn't get a lot of funding. Family and friends still remain the major source of funding that they get. I think PwC did a report where they mentioned about 38% of the survey that they did. 38% of the funding was secured by from family and friends. Fintechs are coming into that space as well, just trying to ensure that there's more credit that gets to the hands of SMEs. Cost of funds was another huge challenge last year. Off the back of inflation and devaluation, the CBN had to raise MPR to about 24.75 last year, and sorry, 27.25 last year, and CRR to about 50% last year as well. And treasury bills were going out at yields at almost as high as 29. Obviously, what that did was crowd out the liquidity that existed and stifled access, increased the cost of funds for a lot of corporates, not to now talk about the SMEs that were in the space as well. So all these things, created a great gap, right, between the corporates, which are typically the buyers, as well as the sellers, which are typically SMEs. And supply chain finance was needed more than ever at those points in time because the buyers had to extend payment terms in reaction to that, leveraging off their powers of negotiation, and pretty much passed it down to the SMEs who had little or no chances of fighting back.
Right.
So supply chain finance, innovative solutions like that had to step in to try and bridge those gaps and ensure that those partnerships continue to thrive.
Right. I guess at this point, everyone just passing on, the cost, and at the end of the day, gets to the end user. But talk to me about how technology, is changing the landscape of supply chain finance in Nigeria, and some of the opportunities it's creating for businesses, within that supply chain, within the supply chain itself.
All right. Good question. So technology is coming in to revolutionize, or at least to support what the actual business activities are, right? So solutions like digital invoice financing, for instance, which creates marketplaces where vendors, who their payment terms have been moved up from maybe 30 to 60 days or 60 to 90 days, can go to these platforms and trade in their invoices to be able to take out cash. There are also digital supply chain finance platforms, which don't just deal with post-fulfillment finance. They also deal with pre-fulfillment finance. So those platforms are such that they allow retail investors or even institutional investors be able to provide capital to intermediate on the requirements that the vendors have on for supply chain transactions that they need to fulfill on. Another thing that is still nascent but is growing is blockchain financing. Use of blockchain to be able to track transactions, be able to get updated information on transactions as they are going on, and it has its benefits on both the buyer and the seller side. AI is coming hard and strong in this space as well. There's a lot of data that is scattered all around the place. Expectation is that with AI and access to those data points, we'll be able to collate those data and then use that to have a fairer and a more appropriate risk assessment of both the buyer as well as the seller, which ultimately would lead to an increase in capital going in that direction. So a lot of things are going on that technology is doing, but if you're going to summarize everything, technology is driving efficiency in the space, right? Is expanding access to capital, is enabling better risk management, and ultimately is also even improving costs for businesses. So technology is doing quite a lot, and the outlook is even brighter.
Right, and it seems we can't have any conversation these days, without AI, popping up or blockchain. Definitely going to be an interesting future, going forward. But what advice would you give to, businesses that are looking to optimize their supply chain?
Well, for businesses that want to optimize, I believe collaboration is very key. You need to find innovative ways to do what it is that you're doing before. We're on the cusp of the fifth revolution. And demographics are changing around us as well. So there's a trend and direction towards supply chain financing, as well as the benefits that technologically driven supply chain financing would do. I believe, like I said from the very beginning, collaboration is very key, because what it allows people to do is utilize the data that you've been able to store on a lot of your sellers, right, to enable financiers be able to make a proper judgment or make a fairer assessment of the SMEs that work with them. So overall, I think the benefits are, significant, and it only makes sense for everybody to move in that direction.
All right, thank you so much. It's great having your perspective today. That was Oluse Esheton, co-founder, Chief Growth Officer at Vendor Credit. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
All right, so now we see Asset Rise, a prominent real estate company that delving into agro real estate. We'll be discussing the motivations behind this, strategic move, delving into their mission and examining the significant potential of oil palm cultivation. Well, join us for this conversation. We have Oluwadurotimi Ojamamoye, GMD Asset Rise Limited, joining me right here in the studio. It's great to have you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Right. So, when you think of real estate, and a real estate company, you expect it's just agency, housing, sales, and all of that, just providing housing solutions. But now you're going into agro. That's the agro side of things. Talk to me about that and what's motivating, you delving into that side of things.
Thank you so much. So agro real estate is not new. We have a great icon who have done this, Awolowo. Back in his years, he founded the Okitipupa Oil Palm PLC, over 10,000 hectares. Luckily, he's in my community. So I learned from everything that we saw there. And today, after 50 years, that place is still yielding revenue. And that is real estate in agriculture. Now we have taken this further by democratizing what we can do with the oil palm, by making sure that people don't just buy land for building houses alone, they can buy land for agriculture. And then together we can create models to solve food security, create exportable agriculture of the country, and people can earn from agriculture. So these are models for agro real estate. Basically, all over the world, farm assets, farm acquisition as an asset is a major investment. And definitely, the land we appreciate over time, and sooner than later, that same land that is 50,000 today, after you have farmed on it for 10 years, 20 years, can become 100 million tomorrow. So right. That's all about the agro real estate model.
So if I want to, key into that side of things, all I'm doing is I'm buying, agro land, at this point. So what's the earning potential there?
Okay. Let me give you a bit of what we have done with this. So as of today, we are cultivating over 4,000 hectares in 4 different states. In Oyo State, currently we have an oil mill processing palm oil at about 1.5 tons per day. We recently launched a 3,000 hectares in Ado-Uduota, Ogun State, and we are going to be launching a 5,000 hectares this year, also in Ogun State. Now what it means to the investors is that you buy this land, you own it. And then because it is a community, we're able to provide better security, better practice of agriculture. We partner with NIFOR, with other institutions, IITA, to see how this is done professionally. And then the oil palms grow, and then you can earn for over 30, 40, 50 years because the oil palm is sustainable for a very long time. So the profitability is not just today, it is for a very long time, both on the oil palm and also on the land asset that is going to be appreciated. And we have seen this become a major force to solve some basic problem in Nigeria. For example, this is a model to solve poverty. I'll give you an example. You're going to retire someday, and then you retire to something that should be dependable. And I can tell you that the palm oil or the palm oil plantation can serve as a retirement plan. If you own a 5 hectare today, cultivated with palm tree, you are definitely sure of having passive income for over 40, 50 years. And then you are not pressured at your retirement. For cooperative organizations, they can invest massively in oil palm. For churches, for different institutions. And when we talk about this in our model for sustainability, beyond the oil palm, is the fact that the land itself can be intercropped. So the oil palm is planted at a very space that can allow other crops to do well on it. So today in Lagos State, we operate the biggest farm right in Ekpe with oil palm. Last year, we had the Commissioner for Agric visit our Eco Yams project. 2023, right in the midst of this oil palm, we intercrop over 1 million tubers of yam. It is always new that, Lagos don't have land. But agriculture is a basic thing that if we understand how to do it, it is far profitable for everyone and is a value chain to explore for decades.
And, definitely there's also impacts, when you're looking at this kind of business. Talk to me about the environmental side of things.
Thank you so much. Now, you see, when I speak about Lagos State, you have a lot of industries in Lagos State. I think Lagos should be more concerned about having a lot of oil palms because the trees will support the environment. If you go to Okitopo today, you have about 1.5 million trees planted. So the more trees we can plant, not just trees now, economic trees can also help our environment to survive. Last year, I was privileged to be on the UK House of Parliament, and I was speaking about sustainability and telling them simply about my father's story. He died when I was 14. He planted over 100 acres of the oil palm. When he died, that was our sustainability. We don't need to beg any uncle to go to school. We mill palm oil, pay our tuition. But talk about the environmental impact. He's gone for over 20-something years now. Those trees are still supporting the environment. So agric has a lot of potential to sustain our environment beyond the economic impact that it will give onto us.
Right. And sorry about your dad, but I'm sure many years ago, I'm sure he was a great guy.
Yeah.
Talk to me about results.
Great.
That you've seen so far with this.
Okay. So let's talk about results and see the inflation in Nigeria right now and see how farmers are smiling to the bank. 2024, as of January, a 25-liter keg of palm oil was 15,000. Today is 70,000 naira. So the farmer who cannot speak English is earning more than even a bank manager in Lagos currently. Agric is a potential. Now talk about poverty eradication. A lot of persons who can go back to the farm, like I just told you, we did over 1 million tubers of yam in Lagos. On an hectare of land, you can do about 10,000 tubers. So the economic potential of agric is large, and that's the impact. So for us, with over 4,000 hectares, we're currently connected to both Nigerians home and abroad, more Nigerians in diaspora who are investing back home in the oil palm plantation, and we are creating sustainable wealth together with Nigerians. Number two, we are creating jobs for our youths. As of today, at our back office, we have over 65 staffs, and we have over 4,000 consultants who work with us across this real estate potential. So enormous job creation opportunity. Number three, food security. The oil palm has a lot of economic impact. Almost all the cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and food industry use the palm oil. So it's a great demand for both local and international markets. And for domestic and industrial consumption, the palm oil industry is a major. You have potentials from the palm kernel oil, from the palm oil, from everything that you see in the palm oil is a major thing. Now, what we are advocating...
So it seems nothing goes to waste.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. So what we are advocating to our youths, rather than waiting for the government, to a lot of our elders, rather than blaming the government for what to do, let's go back to the farm. We have this with us. Malaysia today, their entire economy is powered with palm oil. You see companies like Okumu and the rest of them with decades, over 50 years, palm oil, and billions of naira in declaration. This is a large potential for us to create wealth in Nigeria for ourselves.
Right, and definitely, I love the sound of that, creating wealth, for Nigeria, because we need that, right there. But how do we properly, diversify, with agro-real estate? Because at this point, you don't know when your asset class, something you're holding in your portfolio is going to come under fire, with what we're seeing, these days in the market.
So let me talk jokingly about fire. These palm trees are the most sustainable agric you can talk about. When fire gets into an oil palm farm, if the fire is extinguished, the palm tree will grow back.
Wow.
Yes, you can experiment that. And then it's agile. Climate change, the palm tree will withstand. So it's very agile. Then the assets, the land itself, it's your asset. You own the land. That's the model now. It's democratized, so you can own 1 hectare, and then your land is appreciating. And then to protect this asset, that's when we now go into partnership with governments. As of date, we are in talks with the Enugu State government, who is giving us about 7,000 hectares, Abia State government, about 10,000 hectares, and in Enugu State, we have a lot of hectares developed already. Why do we need to go to the government? Because land is the major asset. So our people in diaspora want to invest, but they want to make sure that their investment is secure. Nigerians want to invest, but want to make sure their investment is secure. So the land must be secure. Then after the security of the land is the partnership with major players to make sure that we plant it right and it grows. Now, you plant it once and for all, and you reap for over 50 years. So the potential is enormous if we do it legally and if we do it rightly.
Right, and we definitely want to do it right at this point. But what more can we expect from asset rise going into 2025?
Thank you. So this year, let me also mention that we have diversified from the sustainable. Palm tree is sustainable to the more risky part of agric, because we have the income flow now, and that's a major advice to a lot of people who want to go into agric. You want to experiment with what is not sustainable, it is not advisable. Start with the palms, then you can experiment. Now, we have partnered with Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, and Channels was on the program. We are currently empowering over 1,500 students of that institution with our SAP project, and with 100 hectares right in the school. And we also have schools coming in, Federal University of Federal Polytechnic Ilaru, and other universities that we are partnering with to expand the agri portfolio and our benefit to Nigeria. So this year we're going to go into more partnership. Let me also mention that the Nigerian Society of Engineers currently signed an MOU with us to expand our project in 2025 with a model to create the farm in 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. And there is a lot more that we can give. But more of it, let's democratize it. You can own an oil palm tree farm, and then you can walk in Lagos and not be bothered. It is the only investment in agri that you cannot be there and it's still growing. In fact, you can abandon it for 10 years and come back, and your business is still continuing. Right. That is how agile and sustainable.
Because we've heard of some agriculture investments in the past where you come back and you see that the asset is not there anymore, and you hear stories about you're not able to get the returns that you're supposed to get before. So how is this model eliminating all of that, because when people hear about agricultural investments, some of them get scared. They're like, it's here again. Yeah. How do you hedge against all of that?
So thank you. I think jokingly last year or thereabouts, we went talk with Channels, and Channels said, no, we're not taking any agri company. A lot of issues with these people. But we understand that Channels also has contributed a lot to sanitizing the industry and removing a lot of scams. Now, if you want to come into agric, first, guarantee the asset. Go and make your search. Go to the government, the Ministry of Land, search that the land is not under government acquisition. Engage your lawyer. Then 2, we are going to plant for you once you acquire. And this is not a sit back and expect. You can inspect and see the progress. A lot of our clients come to the site. Probably the Adodo plant is having an agro-tourism in there. So you can come to your farm, sleep in there, and even retire there. You can build a resource in the farm. So it's an all-encompassing model that will be sustainable and will eliminate fraud. Now, lastly about fraud. This is not an investment scheme promising you get 60%, you get 30%. No, you own this. The potential for oil palm is all available. You can Google it. Once it is planted right, you are certain of your return. And I just experimented. On a one plot, if you can get about 5 to 10 kegs in a year, multiply that by 70,000 naira right now. Then you're getting a good return. Right. On a projection. On an hectare, you are good. And the asset that you own is certified for you and is increasing over time.
Right. I'll definitely love to wake up, in a farm, because I love nature.
Awesome. You want to come to Okipupa and wake up seeing trees all around.
Exactly. I'm sure the air feels different.
Awesome.
There.
Awesome.
I'd love to experience it. But thank you so much. It was great having you today, Oluwaduro Timi, the GMD Asset Rise Limited, breaking down this investment opportunity for us.
Okay. If you want to get back to us, we have a brochure that you can download.
Right.
You can call our numbers 080-232, then 4 in 5 places. 080-232-44444. And we have a brochure you can download, study it, and engage us legally, because it must be rightly done.
It must be rightly done. Well said. Thank you so much. It was great having you today.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to be joining a live coverage now. That's for our DSTV viewers, a live coverage of coronation of newly appointed emirs and chiefs in Adamawa State. That's a Fufore local government area in Adamawa State. But we're still live on other platforms. But that's it from me on Business Morning. I hand things over to the Sunrise Daily team.